One of the beauties of being in the Liberty Movement is we get a chance to meet many people. We get a chance to hear about many people who have done many great things for the cause of liberty and freedom. And sometimes, as we all do or will do sometime, they leave this world. And one of the greats has left this world, who's a liberty lover, who has done a lot. And we've wanted to find someone who knew about him, worked with him, who has agreed to come and speak to us. Our very own Jeffrey Tucker. Now, Jeffrey is with the American Institute for Economic Research. He's the editorial director there, but he has a lot of insights into what is happening and what really works in the liberty movement. Today, he's going to share with us some ideas and some concepts about this wonderful person named John Perry Barlow. Join me now in welcoming Jeffrey Tucker.
I'm honored to be asked to give this tribute to John Perry Barlow, who is, like all of us, immortal through the words that we leave on earth, so that we can learn from him, even though he's not with us. He was born October 3rd, 1947, just at the end of the close of the Second World War, a time when a new world was being born. We weren't sure what that world was going to look like. He dedicated his life to making sure that it would be freer than the world that had come in the generation previous. He dedicated his life to the cause of freedom. Maybe most famously, he was a lyricist for the Grateful Dead. Yes. Right? Most famously, right? Also, founder of the Electronic Frontier Foundation, which I don't know if you know their work, but they've been so instrumental in protecting digital privacy rights. You remember the, anybody with a EFF sticker on his laptop, you can be sure is a revolutionary of some sort, a very dangerous enemy of the state, most likely. And he helped to make that possible. Very interesting guy, a visionary. You know, Wikipedia describes him as a poet, an essayist, a cattle rancher, political activist, and so on. Look, he lived a big life. He didn't have one profession. He did many, many things. He left the world at the age of 70, February 7th, 2018. I would say John Perry Barlow's greatest contribution, the thing he really left us, was his declaration of independence, of cyberspace, which should remind us what the purpose of the internet is. And I'm looking forward to reading the entire thing to you. But I'm going to save it for the second half of this quick tribute, because I wanted to read to you something else first, which is a very interesting list. He wrote this thing called Principles of Adult Behavior. Do you know it? Have you read this? Principles of Adult Behavior. It's a very interesting blend of Stoic and Christian philosophy, I guess you could say. But I like it. I like the order in which he presents it. I especially like that he describes it principles of adult behavior. I like it because I think when we think of ethics, we've tended to think of commandments that come from a high source through some authoritative dude who's like a perfect person and a leader of people imposing them on you. But in fact, that's not a very good way to think about ethics and rules and principles. They really should emerge from our experience and be aspirational. In other words, for John Perry Barlow, he wrote these at the age of 30, not because he was issuing an edict to someone else, but because he wanted to give himself rules to aspire to. Not that he adhered to them all the time, but rather because he wanted to live this way. Not that he did, it's just something he wanted to do. And they're weirdly wise for a 30-year-old gentleman, I would say. So I'm just going to read through them and trying to avoid commenting as much as I can, but it's not going to work. Because the first one is this: be patient no matter what. Now, why would you put that, see, I'm already commenting, right? Why would you put that as number one? And I think it has something to do with his embrace of uncertainty. Like, what can we be certain about? We can be certain about the things that happened today, the things that happened yesterday. Anything that's historical becomes data that we cannot change. But what we can look forward to is the future that we do not know. We see it only through the glass darkly, as St. Paul says. So all of history, like the timeline of history, is constantly split. There's the known, which is what has happened, and the unknown, which is the future. And how we treat that comes down to what's in our heart. Are we comfortable not knowing what the future is going to bring? Are we okay going to bed at night without the answers and with a slight conviction that maybe the answer will be revealed to us in the future? You know, will our lives be a process of discovery and experimentation, or are we going to pretend to know everything already and be uncurious about what the future brings? And for Barlow, it was all about that beautiful uncertainty and the beautiful unknowingness. And I think that's why he said patience was such a virtue. And it's an interesting one as a 30-year-old, because it really defines the difference between childhood and adulthood. That attitude of patience is something that I've felt like I've had to cultivate in myself. Like, wait, be okay with not knowing, let's see what tomorrow brings, see what the data reveal, let the world teach me as it progresses forward. And then I will adapt to it mentally, psychologically, and emotionally, and spiritually. He summed it all up. Be patient, no matter what. Number 2, don't badmouth, assign responsibility, not blame. Say nothing of another that you wouldn't say to him. That's a challenge. Never assume the motives of others are to them less noble than yours are to you. Expand your sense of the possible. Don't trouble yourselves with matters that you truly cannot change. Wow. You know, I think about the frustrations I've had in my life. At some point, I think when I was 21, I decided I hated the state and I would destroy it. Yeah? And so you know what I did? I wrote an article. And for whatever reason, the state didn't thereby become destroyed. It was very upsetting to me. So I tried it again, and I did it again, and I tried it for 20 years, and the state still stood. And at some point I realized something terrible. I can't change this damn thing. This is absurd. I need to find some other way to be an anarchist besides just hating the thing that I can't actually, it's not within my capability to get rid of. And once I realized that I can't change it, then I got creative. And I think I've done more to affect change in the world by recognizing what I truly cannot change. And I think that this is actually, for an anarchist as he was, this is a very important thing to realize. Expect no more of anyone than you can deliver yourself. Wow. You know, if everybody applied that principle, there'd be no despots, no dictators, no presidents. Tolerate ambiguity. Laugh at yourself frequently. It's good. Concern yourself with what is right. What is right, rather than who is right. Never forget that no matter how certain you might be wrong. Yeah. I'm going to give you numbers now. Number 11, give up blood sports. Number 12, Remember that your life belongs to others as well, and don't risk it frivolously. Number 13, never lie. Wow. I don't know what we're going to do with this one. Number 13, never lie to anyone for any reason. Number 14, learn the needs of those around you and respect them. Number 15, avoid the pursuit of happiness. Seek to define your mission and pursue that. Interesting, interesting. Find your mission, pursue it, and thereby you will obtain happiness, not directly, but indirectly. Reduce the use of the first personal pronoun. I know what he means. Praise at least as often as you disparage. You know, this is a very important habit, and it changes your whole outlook on life. I remember, you know how you have weird experiences that somehow shape your life? So I was at the airport one time, and this woman was very upset. She's like, why is this plane late? And what, they don't have Sprite? I have to have Diet Sprite? This is horrible, you know? And that waitress, I mean, she's ghastly. Who hired this pilot anyway? You know, and do they not have screens on the television? She could just, I couldn't believe, this woman was addicted to complaining. But I got interested in her. I thought, well, I wonder how long she can keep this up. So I sort of weirdly followed her around, you know. And she was with her long-suffering boyfriend, who was just kind of like the whole time. And so, yeah, I left them, they were on the bus, you know, going to the cars, and she was complaining the whole time, this watch, was this a rip-off or what? I mean, it's just terrible, this watch, you know, it doesn't even work, you know. And why do they have the parking lot so far away? I couldn't believe it. It's the most unrelenting series of complaints. And I realized something about her. This is what made her happy. She had become like a narcotic or something, like to complain constantly was her means of living or something. It's what gave her life. And I felt terrible for her. And I swore that day that I would never be that person. Right? Oh, it's awful. Awful. Anyway. Number 18, admit your errors freely and soon. Admit your errors freely and soon. There's something else, you know, something about that. It's very interesting. Have you noticed how rare apologies are? I mean, real apologies. Here is what I did wrong. No excuses, no context, no mitigating circumstances. Just this thing is what I did wrong. Not that a lot of people did even worse things. Not that I did it for a reason. I had a good reason. No. This is what I did wrong. I admit it, and I am sorry. Do you know how, if you can cultivate that skill, it's amazing how many life situations you can diffuse. Just to go up to somebody and say, I did this wrong thing, and I am sorry. It's mind-blowing what that will do to another. Hardly anybody can sustain a loathing or hatred or a difficult, uncomfortable relationships after that one statement. Why is it so difficult for us? Why is that so hard? It seems so easy, just one word. Admit your errors freely and soon.
You can't keep doing that.
What?
You can't keep saying sorry over and over and over again.
Who?
You can't keep saying sorry over and over again.
No, you can't keep doing it. But if you can do it even one time, it's amazing. You know, I'm a Catholic. And we have this institution called confession, which is very weird. I wouldn't recommend it to you. But it's you know, there's probably other ways to obtain, you know, interesting experiences available to you at this conference. But Catholic confession is interesting. And the thing is, a good confessor will never let you make an excuse, right? You can't say, well, I'd had a lot to drink, you know. I mean, you can't, like, if you start that way, he'll say, look, this is a juridical chamber. I want to know your sin, nothing more. And you will actually get thrown out of the confessional if you do any more than that. So it's kind of weirdly good training for isolating what the problem is. Okay. let's see, okay, become less suspicious of joy, 19. Yeah, you know, it's funny. Look, I've got to stop this commentary bullshit. You know, I was always a joyous person, but I didn't feel like I was allowed to be. It took me many years to finally come to terms with the fact that I was actually really happy, and I'm just going to be that way all the time. Yeah, just going to be that way. Whatever. Why do we associate adulthood with seriousness? That's pathetic, dreadful. Understand humility. 21, remember that love forgives everything. Love forgives everything. Number 22, foster dignity. 23, live memorably. 24, love yourself. And 25, endure. I like that list. John Perry Barlow at the age of 30. Yeah, let's give him. Wonderful, wonderful. Don't quote me on this, but I'd take that over Moses any day. Okay. All right. Now we're going to do the really important thing. This is the Declaration of the Independence of Cyberspace. Why has so much changed since 1995? The year of the privatization of the internet. You know, if the states of the world knew what was coming, they never would have permitted it. They would have jailed everybody, you know, on the internet, shut the thing down, forbid the invention of the web browser, and kept it to themselves as they had tried to do for the previous 10, 15 years. But in that great moment, it was handed over to humanity, and John Perry Barlow knew that nothing would ever be the same, that the state could not survive this, the nation state would not survive this. And he saw something, and he saw it in 1996. And I want to read this because, first of all, as I say, it's through this declaration that John Perry Barlow is immortal, and he is in our midst. He saw something we too often forget. We live in revolutionary times. The purpose of the internet is to free humanity from its shackles, to emancipate every human person from the control of the state. And this statement will go down in history. I'm just going to spend, it's not that long, but I'm just going to read it from top to bottom, and then I'm done. So let's just listen to what this man had to say. A Declaration of the Independence of Cyberspace by John Perry Barlow. Governments of the industrialized world, you weary giants of flesh and steel, I come from cyberspace, the new home of the mind. On behalf of the future, I ask you of the past to leave us alone. You are not welcome among us. You have no sovereignty where we gather. Right? We have no elected government, nor are we likely to have one, so I address you with no greater authority than that which liberty itself always speaks. I declare the global social space we are building to be naturally independent of the tyrannies you seek to impose on us. You have no moral right to rule us, nor do you possess any methods of enforcement we have true reason to fear. Governments derive their just powers from the consent of the governed. You have neither solicited nor received ours. We did not invite you. You do not know us, nor do you know our world. Cyberspace does not lie within your borders. Do not think that you can build it as though it were a public construction project. You cannot. It is an act of nature, and it grows itself through our collective actions. You have not engaged in our great and gathering conversation, nor did you create the wealth of our marketplaces. You do not know our culture, our ethics, our unwritten codes that already provide our society more order than can be obtained by any of your impositions. You claim there are problems among us that you need to solve. You use this claim as an excuse to invade our precincts. Many of these problems don't exist. Where there are real conflicts, where there are real wrongs, we will identify them and we will address them by our means. We are forming our own social contract. This governance will arise according to the conditions of our world, not yours. Our world is different. Cyberspace. Cyberspace, it consists of transactions, relationships, and thought itself, arrayed like a standing wave in the web of our communications. Ours is a world that is both everywhere and nowhere, but it is not where bodies live. We are creating a world that all may enter without privilege or prejudice according to race, economic power, military force, or station of birth. We are creating a world where anyone, anywhere may express his or her beliefs, no matter how singular, without fear of being coerced into silence or conformity. Your legal concepts of property, expression, identity, movement, and context do not apply to us. They are all based on matter, and there is no matter here. Our identities have no bodies, so unlike you, we cannot obtain order by physical coercion. We believe that from ethics, enlightened self-interest, and the commonweal, our governance will emerge. Our identities may be distributed across many of your jurisdictions. The only law that all our constituent cultures would generally recognize is the golden rule. We hope we will be able to build our particular solutions on that basis, but we cannot accept the solutions that you're attempting to impose. In the United States, you have today created a law, the Telecommunications Reform Act, which repudiates your own Constitution and insults the dreams of Jefferson, Washington, Mill, Madison, de Tocqueville, and Brandeis. These dreams must now be born anew in us. You are terrified of your own children, since they are natives in a world where you will always be immigrants. Because you fear them, you would trust your bureaucracies with all the parental responsibilities that you are too cowardly to confront yourselves. And our world, all the sentiments and expressions of humanity, from the debasing to the angelic, are parts of a seamless whole. The global conversation of bits. We cannot separate the air that chokes from the air upon which wings beat. In China, Germany, France, Russia, Singapore, Italy, in the United States, you are trying to ward off the virus of liberty by erecting guard posts at the frontiers of cyberspace. These may keep the contagion for a small time, but they will not work in a world that will soon be blanketed in bit-bearing media. Your increasingly obsolete information industries would perpetuate themselves by proposing laws in America and elsewhere that claim to own speech itself throughout the world. These laws would declare ideas to be another industrial product, no more noble than pig iron. In our world, whatever the human mind may create can be reproduced and distributed infinitely at no cost. The global conveyance of thought no longer requires your factories to accomplish. These increasingly hostile and colonial measures place us in the same position as those previous lovers of freedom and self-determination who had to reject the authorities of distant, uninformed powers. We must declare our virtual selves immune to your sovereignty, even as we continue to consent to your rule over our bodies. We will spread ourselves across the planet so that no one can arrest our thoughts. We will create a civilization of the mind in cyberspace. May it be more humane and fair than the world your governments have made before. February 8th, 1996. John Perry Barlow, requiescat in pacem. Deo gracias. Thank you.
There was an idea
to bring together a group of remarkable people
to see if we could become something more.
So when they needed us, we could fight the battles
that they never could.
In time, the state will know what it's like to lose. To feel so desperately that it's right, yet to fail all the same. Dread it. Run from it. Freedom still arrives.
Vacate the state. Engage all the speakers and get this man a microphone.
Fun isn't something that one considers when eradicating tyranny. But this does put a smile on my face.